Back when I was adjusting things and moving stuff around, this engine stand was a different engine stand. This engine was on a stand with only one wheel at the front, two at the back, and unfortunately I caught a piece of something and it just toppled over. Fortunately, I was out of the way. I did not get hurt. Three things on the engine did get damaged. The fuel pump is broken, you can see right there. I've got a replacement. This bracket broke, and I got someone on the internet to send me what is supposed to be the correct part for going there. That correct bracket doesn't look quite the same. We're going to see if it still fits and works as it's supposed to. And finally, the front fan, just this one blade here was bent. So I'm expecting to have to replace the whole fan. It's important that this is well balanced, but I will just try straightening the blade and straightening the tip of the blade, and we'll see. It's not that difficult of a replacement even after the whole drivetrain is back in the car. Speaking of which, I'll be cleaning up the frame rails. They look to be in pretty good shape. I'm still at a bit of a crossroads, but my intent is to get this car, get the body work done, get it painted, get the drivetrain reinstalled, finish the interior, and then come back and deal with things such as old bushings. I'm sure they all need to be replaced. But I want to get the car on the road, get it looking nice, and then we'll worry about some of the old stuff getting replaced after that. But now I'm going to remove the alternator and then remove this bracket. Remove that bracket, put that bracket on. I can't do a final test until the engine is back in place because the power steering pump is still connected to the steering box. So I can't bring it over and test and see whether or not this feature on the bracket is going to be compatible with what's there. But yeah, pretty easy to get the alternator off, get the bracket off. I'll put the new one on and I'll bring you back after that. All right, well, it sort of seems to kind of go. Got two bolts here and here to go in. There were two other bolts where there were no holes that lined up, although it appears that this long through hole does line up with a threaded hole in the block. Regardless, this is on. It really, again, can't do much. The power steering pump fits in here, so it needs to bolt with adjustments to here. It bolts to here, here. This plate does a lot. This through hole lined up. I was able to get this all to go. The next thing I'm going to do is deal with the fuel pump and the lines. The space, the gap behind here is not as big. There we go. It's not as big as it was before, but I think we can make it work. I'm not going to put a belt on, but everything seems to be lining up the way it needs to between the, there we go, the alternator pulley and the drive pulley belt on there. Next one down, not exactly sure where things go. I've got the filter here with the return on it. It's connected to the replacement fuel pump, as well as the inlet from the fuel line, or the fuel tank line. Let's see. So again, that's not the same. That's what it needs to look like. That wasn't what I just put on there does look like. Again, until I get the engine installed and the power steering pump in place, I don't really know. Next thing I'll do also is turn my attention to the fan here, just to mess around with it now. Alright, I think I'd be pretty hard pressed to tell which fan blade was the bad one. I went ahead and had to straighten it by bending down at the root and then at the tip. So now that one looks kind of short, doesn't it? But I don't think that was the one. Anyway, the other thing I did was I put this flat plate up here, and looking down, looks like they're all pretty much touching that plate. So I'm happy with that. Now, onto the carburetor, which fortunately was in a box marked LeMans engine. I love when that happens. Back, I'm taking off this cover so you can see underneath what's binding. All right, the choke cover, inside there is the thermostat spring, and as that gets cool, this is supposed to rotate, but it is not free. So if I remove this plate, there's a gasket there. And then underneath is a piston that goes inside that cavity, and it's supposed to, I believe, move relatively freely, but it's not. Maybe I'll try disassembling a bit more and cleaning it up a bit more. I removed the choke assembly because I think what's binding is not the cylinder inside the bore, which seem to be moving freely. It is the pivoting shaft here that is not rotating as free as it should. So if I pop that out of there, all right, that's what that looks like. So a little steel wool, and we'll see if we can free this shaft up inside the choke housing. Alright, so there's the box I said had LeMans engine stuff in it. I'm going to go with that carburetor as is. If I have problems with the choke, then I'll deal with it afterwards. Inside here, some LeMans interior stuff, heater controls. That is a Corvair box. This has got a bunch of LeMans parts in it. I'm thinking about getting a bin, and yeah, I'm going to go get a bin and pull this out and figure out what's all in here and put it in a plastic bin instead of this cardboard, and that plastic bin should fit on this shelf. Now let's see what we got in here. An air cleaner with the hose. I think I'll put that in later. This feels like shrouding the engine. Wow, that's stiff. Some weather stripping. I'm sure we'll be replacing that eventually. More shrouding pieces in the compartment. Here is bolts for the trunk. well, the trunk's already being held in, so I'm not sure. I guess I just found stuff elsewhere. This says here, rear driver's window mechanism. Here is a backup light? No, backup lights are round, so this must be a blinker for the front. Maybe it is a backup light. I think the blinkers are yellow. Another piece of weather stripping. Piece of tape. All right, this, I believe, goes on the steering column. Piece of insulation. This hopefully has written on it. Yes, it does. Driver's side front window mechanism. Another backup light. Rear driver window. And this says passenger side rear window cover plate. This is the washer fluid reservoir bracket. This says driver's side front window. This is where the rollers go. This must be the driver's side rear window cover plate. Fuzzies, will be replacing these. And this is the passenger side front window mechanism. And we have driver's side front window. This piece screws to the door frame, and not the door frame, the door itself, and then the roller wheel goes inside there. Rear passenger window mechanism. A new brake release. Yeah, I guess we can keep that in that box. And this should be, yes, up, this side in, that side up. And I can't read what that says, so we'll have to figure it's the opposite of what I could read. All right, this is convertible trim stick. Here is driver's rear window regulator mechanism. This is passenger side something rear track. Passenger side, maybe forward rear track, front rear track, front something track. I mean, it's great I marked them. It's just too bad I didn't mark them legibly. I'm sure my eyes saw it looked okay at the time. All right, this is all taped together. This is passenger side. That's this passenger side. So this, I think this has to get straightened out eventually. Probably the window locking or door, door handle mechanism. Driver's side. So something like the door pushes one of these in, also locking mechanism. Anyway, it all fits inside the naked doors. And this is rear passenger. another piece of convertible trim stick. Passenger rear window track. And this is passenger front track 1. And this something, yeah. Driver rear track. This was part of a steering wheel. We'll throw that away. A little screw is always handy. This is something D-side wheel well. D-side wheel well. And also driver's side front driver window, front DR window. And then a box that had mice living in it. It has been in there a while. Okay, I need to, what else do we have here? Just familiarizing myself with stuff that's been out and about for a while. Wow. Okay, white face gauge overlay, clock lens, turn signal indicator lens, red high beam lens, parking lamp lens. This is to rebuild the gauge cluster. I'm not sure what. Oh, this looks like a new convertible top switch assembly. Nice. And I'm sure I'll need instant setting epoxy for something. There. I can sit in there. Okay, here we have. This is, can be cleaned up, but this is the trim piece for going on the front dash. I like to keep this with other interior things. Now, that box is not big enough. I'm going to protect this with some tape. Okay. Well, like I said, well, that is part of the dash that fits around the steering column. Probably goes that way. And then again, we've got gauges. And finally, a gauge housing.